Shalom. I want to do this topic about Daniel again. I did a series on the statue dream, and I have a couple scriptures on Daniel, and this is me doing Daniel again. I'm going to start in chapter 2, but hold on a minute, and I'm going to get the scriptures for Daniel and the history. Back again. The head of gold, King Nebuchadnezzar, the head of gold. The Babylonian Empire came in 609 BCE, and it failed in 539 BCE. And you know that was a prophecy, but that's in Daniel 2 and 36 and 38. I will be reading that and try to go through those kingdoms real quick. And I'm going to read it because I mentioned in one of my videos that I mentioned of Daniel. The prophecies are lined up in the so-called Old Testament known as the Book of Remembrance. But like it's spoken of, I'm going to read like he said he had a dream. King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. And he saw his excellence, 32 verse, said the image, and it says the image's head was fine of gold, and his breast and his arms of silver, and then it says the whole thing, and iron and feet of clay. That's what you're looking at. So if you read the 32 verse, it tells you like the head is fine gold, the silver is Medo-Persia, Greece, and a lot of people try to say the Iron Kingdom is Rome. Well, let's see what the so-called Old Testament say in that in a minute. This is what we got. The 39th verse, it says, then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together and become like a shaft of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, no place found for them, and the stone that smote the image become a great mountain filled the whole earth. See, the stone is going to cut out hands, and that's what you're seeing, and that's Yahuwah of hosts. A lot of people say Yah of hosts is cutting out of threshing hands. He's cutting out all the ideologies, and then he's raising them up like he's doing now. So let's start with the Babylonian Empire. We just mentioned what the statue looks like. And the feet of the clay, a lot of people try to say that's going to be some kind of empire. That's a lie. This is going to be, that's talking about us when that clay appeared. And that's in scriptures for that too as well. That's really talking about us. What it says, the 36th verse says, this is the dream, and he will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. And the Babylonian king periods when Daniel was in captivity, and he got out of Medo-Persia. That's how it left. And it says, thou, O king, art a king of kings for the God of heaven, and have given thee a kingdom of power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven have he given into thine hand, and have made thee the ruler over them all. Thou art in this head of gold, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. That's when Judaism came in. So Greece is the brass kingdom, the belly and the thigh, the brass kingdom. So with that, if you read 1 Samuel 5 and 1 through 7, it tells you that. But if you read it, and Gresham came, took down the Medes 331 BCE in the 3rd century. So Judaism came later after that. And Rome came into power 168 BCE. And then they fell in 476 CE. And that's when Christianity appeared. But they said the European Union was the iron clay. They were, because it's the 4th kingdom. So the mixed and mirrored clay is still part of the 4th kingdom. It's the same thing. It's just it's going to fall. And we're that clay that's in a whirlwind. So the stone cut out of hands is going to destroy all that. So if you read 38th verse I just read, it's the head of gold. That's Babylon. But if you read the 39th verse, that's talking about Medo-Persia. But Persia fell during the Gresham period. So they ruled for some years, and then they came along down. And let's read the 40th verse. It says, and the 4th kingdom. It didn't say Rome. Rome was the 4th kingdom, they say. A lot of people say Rome is the 4th kingdom. No, it's the 4th kingdom. The 4th kingdom of man, not the Gentiles in the good spell, like you read in that good spell over there. This is the 4th kingdom of man. And I'm going to get chapter 3 in Daniel, the Babylon eternal statue of the gold right here to explain this, because I did a video on this and I'm going to redo this video. This is a response to the video about the Daniel prophecy. I'm not trying to mix it with Revelation and things like that, but a lot of our people get caught up saying that the 4th kingdom is Rome. Well, it has Roman theology, that's true. It has a lot of Roman theology, that's believable, but you have to understand all of those kingdoms were diverse. You had the Franks defeated the Romans, all that history. But if you read other histories like the Moors and all that, it was a lot of people wanting power. It was going through various changes. And we're seeing its inception is ran by the sinners of Esau, perpetuated these things. So he's at the iron and the clay right now. We're fighting him through scriptures. He's persecuting us, running away, but the Most High is cutting him out. Like it said in Daniel 2 and 44. I'll get that in a minute. I'm going to get the 40th verse about the king, because most of y'all know the 41st verse to the 43rd verse with the mixed and mirrored clay I just mentioned. And it says, and the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron. See, right here. A lot of people want to say that's Rome. Yeah, Rome, 3 of them were Romans, but the rest of the 10 kingdoms came and went. So, the second coming, talking about Yahuwah, but the stone cut out of hands, curses of the earth. You can read Deuteronomy 28, 23, and 24. Trying to fill that prophecy. But Daniel 2 and 31 and 35 explains that even further. I just read the 35 verse talking about the stone coming out of the hands. And if you read the 31st verse and the 35th verse, it'll tell you that. But if you read the 4th verse, it says it's going to be strong as iron. But for much as iron breaking in pieces and subdue all things, and as iron that breaketh all these that shake and break in pieces and bruise. And that's what it did, like its inception. But see, many kingdoms took down Rome. Rome fell in 476 AD CE, or should I say AD, known as CE, 47 CE. And if you look in the days, like it says in the Daniel 2 and 44, talking about the Most High with the hands don't call us, and it says, in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven, like I said, the God of heaven, but the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to the other people, but it shall be breaking in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Let's talk about the Most High, the Israelite kingdom. And it's for the Israelites. They're the ones who have an everlasting kingdom. And I'm going to mention something about Daniel 3. Daniel 3. And it's talk about, when you read Daniel 3, it says King Nebuchadnezzar dedicated a golden image in Dura. And in the 8th verse, I think it's talking about Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego are accused for not worshiping the image. That's the 8th verse, all the way down to through the 12th verse. They being threatened to make a good confession, 13 through the 18th verse. And if you read, like I say, God delivered them out of the furnace. Well, really, the Most High delivered them out of the furnace. That's what it should say, or Yah, or Yahuwah. And then that's the 19th through the 25th verse, 26th verse, all the way to the end, I believe. And it's the 30th verse. And it talks about Nebuchadnezzar seeing a miracle blessed, from the Most High that he got. So I'm not going to read the 26th verse and the 19th verse. Y'all can read that for yourself and know the story. I'm going to get to the part they won't worship. So I'm going to get that far, and I'm going to get like this. Chapter 3, Daniel chapter 3, verse 1. It says, King Nebuchadnezzar, the king made an image of gold whose height was 3 cubits. It says 3 cubits. You can see the measurements. 3 cubits and wide and 3 cubits and wide beardeth therefore 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. But then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes and the governors and the captains, the judges, the treasurers and the counselors and the sheriffs and all the rulers of the province to come to the dedication of the image of which King Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the princes of the governors and the captains and judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the province were gathered. The provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up, and they stood before the image of King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then he had cried aloud to you, it is commanded, O people, nations, and language, that at what time ye heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar the king hath set up. But and whoso falleth not down and worship shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And that's what he did back then. He was a wicked king. He killed most of our people that didn't worship, and he probably did. And that's what it said. Didn't worship the image of King Nebuchadnezzar. And that's how it was back then for our forefathers. It was rough. Persecution at its finest in the Babylonian kingdom. And that's what they said. But here's the 7th verse, the last verse. It says, therefore at the time when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, and all the people, the nations, and the language fell down and worshipped the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And that's what they did before they get persecuted. But you have to understand, and it says all gold, and here's the measurement. It says 9 feet tall. It was 9 feet tall, 90 inches, and it's like it says in the measurements, in the cubits. It says 80 cubits, and therefore 6 cubits. And he has 6 plus 3 equals 9. All right, and it tells you in this image that you see. I really want to understand that you can see what I'm talking about here. It's the statue dream chart of King Nebuchadnezzar, his dream. But the Most High is cutting it with our hands. I'll get that in a minute. But if you read the 8th verse, and it says, wherefore that a time a certain Chaldeans came near and accused Israelites. I know it says Jews in your Bibles, but it initially should say Israelite, because we're not Jews, we're Israelites. Hebrew Edomites use the word Jew. So you know the sins of Esau. They spake and said to the king of King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, and shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worship, and then he should be cast, like we just read in the early verses, in verses 1 through 7, shall be cast in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Israelites, like they want to use Jews in there. It's initially say Israelite, but they put Jew in there, whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon. Shadrach, like if you read in the first chapter who Shadrach is, that's the captive name of Hananiah. Hananiah is Shadrach. And let's read the next one. It says Meshach. That's Mishael of Meshach. It said Mishael, and Azariah is Abednego. Those, see, their real names is Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. It's Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. But if you know their captive names is Shadrach and Meshach, Azariah is known as Abednego. Abednego is Azariah. Those are their captive names. Zerubbabel's captive name, if you read in Ezra, it tells you is Sheshbazzar, and Belshazzar, or should I pronounce it Belshazzar, Daniel's captive name. That was his name, Belshazzar. Daniel. But when I'm reading chapter 3, I'm reading their captive names. Like you see, they in captivity, total captivity at this point. And it says Meshach, known as Mishael, that's his real name, but his captive name was Meshach. But Shadrach is Hananiah, and Abednego is Azariah. That's what they talk about. These three men. These men, O king, have not regarded thee; they worship, serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. But then King Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. But King Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? See, he used the word gods, but I call them idols if in certain situations in Scripture. But it says, now if ye be ready that at time ye heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, or something like that, and all the kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast in the same hour into the midst of the fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? And he was making mockery of the Most High. It says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O King Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. And this is the last verse, I believe. Oh, it's the 19th verse. I got to stop. Okay, 18th verse of the last verse. It says, if it be so, our power. That's what he said. But they initially put God in there, but it should say power. It is our power whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. He will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, being known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship thy golden image which thou hast set up. And that was it. And if you read down, it tells you that. But he got him out of the fiery furnace. So I just want to sum that up a little bit. And the stone cut out hands is mentioned in chapter 7. But it says, like it says in chapter 7, verse 7, talk about Daniel. A lot of people like use the 4 beasts that was going to be diverse. I'm going to read the 3rd verse. You know, most of y'all know the 1st verse. The vision of the 4th beast of Daniel. Everybody wants to jump to chapter 7, but don't have clear understanding that it's diverse. And the 4th beast, the 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one from another. The first was like a lion, and has eagle wings. There it goes again. I behold till the wings thereof were plucked, and was lifted up from the earth, and made it stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. That's talking about the Babylonian is the lion in the wings, the Babylonian kingdom. And it says, behold, another beast is second like to a bear. A lot of people think, the false prophets thinks that's Russia. That's a lie. That's really Persia, Medo-Persia, the Medes. And it was raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs, they say, in the mouth between the teeth. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. That's what they did. And the leopard kingdom, and what we know what leopard means, since we saw with Greeks as well. See, Philip Macedonia, if you research him, he was an Agagite. He was a Malachite Edomite. One of the brothers mentioned that in the videos, and that's true. He was an Agagite. The Agagites are the tribe of Amalek, so they're the sons of Esau. So, like it says, the leopard, it says, after this I beheld, lo, another like a leopard, which I have upon the back of it, and 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. But if you read the 7th verse, it says it was going to be diverse. It's the 4th kingdom. It says, like we mentioned in the 3rd verse, it says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron and teeth, devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I'm going to confirm this in Daniel 11 and 36, all the way down to the 39th verse, and that explains the 7th chapter, who was doing that. I'm not going to get that, but I'm going to get it though anyway, if I have time. I'm going to confirm this with the 4th kingdom. But if you read the stone cut out hands thing, is 14th verse, like it says, everlasting dominion. Please read that. And the precepts of chapter 2. And Micah 4 and 7 says the same thing. And that's talking about the Most High, the stone cut out with hands. Daniel chapter 2 verse 44. And you also can read Daniel 7 and 14. And it tells you about the everlasting dominion. That's talking about the Israelites having everlasting dominion. The sinners of Israel. The sinners of Yasharal, I mean. Because Israel is an English word. Yasharal is just how they try to interpret it. That's what we are. Yasharalites. Okay, if you read chapter 8, most of y'all know that. Chapter 9. A lot of people try to say that's Christ. No, that's Israel. Chapter 11, it's talking about Gresha, but you can also read them in 1 Samuel 5 and 1 and 7. It talks about the prophecy, the Macedonians. See, Philip Macedonian was an Agagite. They weren't Greeks. The original Greeks were the Myonians and things like that. They're the sons of Japheth, dark-complected people. They got pushed out by the sons of Esau and the invaders. So the invaders were the sons of Esau, because you have many Edomites. Remember, Esau had 5 sons. So please read that. That's in 1 Chronicles, I think the 35th verse, and then you read on down who his descendants are. And they pushed the sons of Japheth. It was a prophecy in Kings that they was going to be scattered among the islands and stuff, like we were. So if you read chapter 2, verse 45, it tells you completely about the stone cut out hands. I want to mention that. Let's see what we got here. It says, for much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it is breaking in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God, the great power, it should say, have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof of sure. That's talking about Yah of hosts, Yahuwah of hosts, and he's going to bust a hole in it. And in the Babylon internal, you saw how wicked King Nebuchadnezzar was. He made himself an idol. So if you read 36 verse, this is talking about new gods, new idols, newly raised up. The fulfillment of prophecy of Deuteronomy 32 verse 17, when they brought Christ up, when we was in all forms of idolatry. We was in the Babylonian kingdom. We were there. A lot of people said we weren't there. We were there. We were there in the Medo-Persia. We were there. The Grecia, Macedonia, we were there. Yes, we was in the Roman Empire and other diverse kingdoms after that. It wasn't all Rome. 3 of them were. But the rest were other empires that took them down. It was diverse. And we at the end time. The end time is the clay, not the final empire. The end time of the empire of the 4th kingdom. So I'm going to read the 36th verse, and it says, and the king shall do exalt him to his will, like I just read, to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate he shall honor the God of forces. Now, what people honor the God of forces? These ruling nations are the ones that honor the God of forces. They put their faith in weaponry. This is what they put their faith in, especially the descendants of Esau. They are the only group of people, and the other nations put their faith in weaponry, and they worship weaponry. But they took everything by force. But they're going to show you here in Daniel 38. This is a prophecy being fulfilled. It says, and we've seen it in the 4th kingdom. There was no Christianity during the 4th kingdom and afterwards. Read the history of Christianity. But in his estate he shall honor, like God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not, talking about us, shall he honor with gold and silver. They worship gold and silver to this day. That's a stumbling block for our iniquity. Ezekiel 7:19. And it says, with precious stones and pleasant things, thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And that's what they've done. The sons of Esau have done that, and they shall divide the land for gain with a strange God. It's known as Jesus, Yeshua, or Yahushua, Yahashua, whatever you want to call it, or the good spirit, the gospel of the New Testament. And all these other names, Jesus, Isis, wherever forms of idols and images. But if you read on down the 40th verse, it tells you the south is Islam, north is Christianity. Till this day. But see, I have it marked, till this day, they still worship to this day. These nations like Libya and Ethiopians and things like that, and of Egypt, they still worship Islam to this day, till this day. And this is Daniel. I just want to sum this up about the stone cut out hands. He holding everything up, but who divide the land for gain? But that's much of Daniel. And I've seen numerous people use the Revelation book to validate their prophecies, even though it's false, like this, like they have it. But it should say the 4th kingdom, and it was diverse, and the clay is the end times. I couldn't find a better picture, but I don't know if I'm going to make a part 2, so may Yahuwah bless you many times, like it says, like your righteous laws are eternal. Psalms